Well, let's jump in because really the truth is today's class is supposed to be a halacha class, the laws of Yom Tov. I got to tell you, the laws of Yom Tov are fairly hard, kind of hard, because they're in one way they're even harder than Shabbat because they have a lot of exceptions, okay? And so that therefore sometimes it's a little bit harder to actually get the rule. Shabbat, the rule is usually clearer. On Yom Tov, there are a few cases that there's a lot of discussion about, and they become a little bit more vague. I'll explain to you why that is. Essentially, the laws of Yom Tov, of the holidays, okay? This means all of them except for, which one? Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you can't do anything, right? But you can't cook or anything else. But the other holidays, that's Passover, that's Shavuot, that's Sukkot, that's Rosh Hashanah, so they have the same laws as Shabbat, except there's a verse in the Torah. It says, whatever you need for ochel nefesh, that you're allowed to do things that you need to live, okay? Which generally speaking means things like cooking, okay? So you're allowed, you have an exception. It's generally like Shabbos, but it says, the verse says, what you need to do, right? Ochel nefesh, for your food sustenance for living, that you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. Now, that means that in Yom Tov you can cook. Okay? For example, that's one of the classic things you could do, is you can cook on Yom Tov. All right?
Except they don't make it easy.
No.
There are lots of rules.
There's a lot of rules, though. I'm trying to explain why there are a lot of rules here. It's a little more complicated in a sense. So you can cook. Now the truth is, not only cooking. The verse says, ochel nefesh, and the way it's written, it implies to us that not only things for cooking, things that are your physical pleasure for the holiday that everyone does is also allowed. And this is the very bizarre thing you may have seen in the past, where 50 years ago, people would be smoking cigarettes on Yom Tov. Why? Because 50 years ago, everyone maintained that that was a rampant pleasure, and everyone was doing it. Now, one of the questions that we're going to have today, which unfortunately we don't have such a good answer for, is that similarly, it may be allowed to, for example, heat up water to take a shower or a bath. That would be great. The problem is that, and I believe me, I've tried to find the heter really. I mean, the Sephardi maybe for Sephardi, but Ashkenazim, it's tough going. The halacha is that it's not called everyone takes a shower every day. I think in America it's a large number. I don't know what's the tipping point that
everybody didn't smoke either.
What?
Everybody didn't smoke either.
So that was a question.
Son said it was okay.
What?
Yeah.
So what?
Adam said that taking a hot shower, of course not washing your hair on Yom Tov, was acceptable.
I don't know where he got that from.
I don't know.
I
don't think he gave me permission, but
I don't know. I went back to one of the Talmidim of Rav Moshe Feinstein today just to confirm that there's no heter, because to me I could certainly hear it, and according to Rav Yosef, he has a heter. Rav Yosef is Sephardi though, and it's based on a certain opinion that's clearly not brought in the Ashkenazi positions. So I don't know where he got it from. I called today one of Rav Moshe's top students to just say to him, listen, is there a heter? To me, it makes sense. But I said,
heat up water.
What?
You can heat up water.
So you could heat up water, the Talmud says, to wash your hands and your face, to basically wash it. Or for kids who have a great need. For adults, I didn't find a heter.
why make that distinction? I don't
What's that?
understand. Why make a distinction that you can only wash if you can boil water? Why make the distinction that only certain parts of your body?
Because what the verse tells us is that not only is cooking food acceptable, but to cook something that would be it would be the normal common situation that everyone would heat up to wash their hands, according to the Talmud, then that would be permissible. Something that would be a pleasure that the word of the Talmud is based on the verse, not just based on the verse, it's called Shav L'chol Nefesh, that everyone needs the same, everyone needs to go and to do certain things. You know, I can't explain to you the rationale of the cigarette smoke, other than the fact that people used to believe it was healthy. They believed this was a healthful thing, it was digestion. I mean, that's what people believed for many years. The Chavetz Chaim in the 20s wrote it's unhealthy. But actually the science back then was that it helps with digestion. There's a lot of other rationales, but I thought it was good until they said it's terrible for you. So let's go one step at a time, because things are a little complicated. So the law is that Yom Tov has the same laws as Shabbos. Has the same laws as Shabbos. Except things that have to do with universal pleasure, universal needs for Yom Tov, that is
All you
permissible.
misses, darn it, we really still can't bathe on you.
I haven't found that active. Someone find that, I don't think so. What? Cold shower, we'll get to that. Cold shower, we can get to that.
That's what he said.
I'm taking
It's supposed to be part
I'm
of the
taking a cold shower. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, he probably said you could take a
No,
cold
it
shower.
can't. No, he said it could be warm part by part. Warm part by part, no. Part by
What?
part.
No.
But I understand, we're not going by what
No,
I
that's
said.
not what he said. No, I understand what he said. He didn't say that. What he said was, we haven't gotten this, the law, warm part by part is permissible if the water is heated up before Yom Tov. That's permissible, yes. But we're talking about a different thing now. We're talking about,
Right.
can you heat it up on Yom Tov to take a shower?
Some people have a situation where it doesn't actually have to heat up to have hot water, like
Right.
so
Right.
So he may, not- y'all may have been
That,
talking about it.
that's definitely what it's talking about,
Yeah.
but I can't see Adam
Yeah.
would give
Like a juice.
allegiance to
not
that.
the
I wasn't
problem
gonna get it. I
isn't-
didn't see that. It's not-
Using warm water.
It depends how your thing works, but the law is, what Adam's referring to is what is the halacha. I'm talking about heating it on Yom Tov. That I would like to entertain that you could even heat it up on Yom Tov to take a shower. And that I haven't found any Ashkenazi posted of stature, of a way that I would feel comfortable to rely on. What Adam's referring to is, and that's why I said I called Moshe's student today just to see, because I know, I'll leave it at that. I want to find someone that's really reliable in the Ashkenazi community. But what Adam's referring to is that you are allowed to use water that was heated up before Yom Tov and wash yourself part by part. That you could do.
And also,
That's why I
I
was
think
referring
there's
to.
like certain situations
like
in a
in a kettle?
hotel where there's something.
Well, you gotta know how the thing works. If the thing is heated up before and all these things, you're not heating it up, then it depends on how your thing is set up.
Like your hot kettle, like
Well, let's go slow. We're not up to bathing yet. I'm just giving the
You don't
introduction
have to
now.
only talk about bathing.
Yeah, I'm not even up to
But
that.
I do have one question. You know how you can do your little voodoo thing on Wednesday before Yom Tov so that you can cook
The
on
egg.
on
The
The Erev Tashilim. Yeah, I don't think it's voodoo as far as I
I'm just
tell.
it's like a like little loophole kind of thing. Why can't they come up with a loophole so that you can at least bathe before Shabbos? Something you can do that, like, it's like
No,
you can-
no.
It's
I'll tell you. It's totally
so
different.
gross. Like
It's
you're
totally
going to
different.
Shabbos
makeup
all
is
gross.
like totally
It's totally
off.
different because there, what you're doing is
Silly.
no. I'll tell you why, but we have to go in stages here. The reason why that's okay is because you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. The question is, the problem is, can you cook for some other period of time? The Erev Tavshilim is just beginning your cooking process. That's allowed. But the
Right.
point is,
You
you
can't
heat
do
up
it.
water
Yeah.
to take a full shower. I shouldn't say it's nothing. Let's go one step at a time.
Okay, but a question back to the shower. Can you take a cold shower and can you towel off
Yeah,
on Yom?
yeah. Just do it in a way that you
take a
don't.
cold shower.
I take it to cold shower. I'm taking a cold shower on Friday.
Like you shampoo and
No hair.
So slow down here. Let's slow down here. The issue about hair is the problem of squeezing the hair. Now really that's really only rabbinic it's rabbinic in the sense that your hair is not really that absorbent. So you shouldn't take a towel and do that. But to put soap on gently, where you don't know on your body, that you don't know you're definitely going to be squeezing, that you could do. Liquid soap, you put liquid soap on your body, and you take a cold shower, that you could do. And then if you pat dry yourself, even if something inadvertently squeezes, that's not what you're intending to do also. Just can't make it, it's definitely going to squeeze.
It's really just the squeeze, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily just
Right.
the absorbing
That's
part,
right.
it's the
That's
squeeze, okay.
Right. With a clean towel.
So we
It's
should
a
all
clean
take cold
towel.
Cold showers.
Yeah.
Really
just
quick,
your body.
cold showers.
Right. Yeah, you can get your hair wet. You get your hair wet.
You
Yeah.
can.
What's the point of getting
Wait.
it wet if you can't wash it?
Right, that's what
Because-
It's just oil with water.
No, actually it
It's
doesn't. It's gonna clean your hair a little
So
bit.
no soap in your hair?
Yeah, I wouldn't put soap because you're gonna. But
But you
I
can-
wet my hair. Yeah.
You can wet it? Can you go like that?
okay.
Can you rub your scalp?
Why can't you make like soapy water over your head and then dump that soapy water over your head, like the liquid water?
If you're not if you're getting your hair wet, the whole class is gonna be up showering. I think.
Yeah.
We're really concerned.
Yeah, I know. It's the 3-day Yom Tov again. I guess you have to all move back to Israel. We won't have this problem. If you're putting water on your head, that's not a problem. Again, the problem is squeezing is actively squeezing out the water from your hair.
Don't
But
you
if
just
put-
walk around your
if you
place
put
like
if you
this?
put that, I mean, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take it, and it does help. It actually gets your hair a little clean. I'll take the cold thing and I'll put it on my head. I would do that. But again, the issue is not to actually actively go and squeeze. So if you put some soap on yourself, that'd be okay. Liquid soap, I put on your body. Yeah.
Yeah, but why can't you put like soapy water in your head and just not squeeze it?
Well,
Just keep on
theoretically,
flushing it with water,
I guess maybe you can. You want to take a thing and dump it on your head?
like soapy water. Dump it on your head and then like just sit under the shower and just go like this.
Theoretically, I think that would be
No,
okay.
I wouldn't do that.
I don't
I
have
would.
any problem with
Can
that.
you go like that?
No, I wouldn't do that
You
because you're
wouldn't
going to be
touch your
squeezing.
head.
But
I wouldn't touch my
I
head at all.
I think what she's saying, if you want to take a thing of soap you want to put in your head, and not
That's
do
a
it,
liquid.
I don't have any problem with
I
that.
know, it's true. I don't know what I'm complaining
I
about.
can't wait after my shower. Oh.
You could do this.
Wait, but you can't, you have to do it right
Because
before
you don't wash
shower.
your hair
What?
anyway.
You have to do it, you have to do it
For
either
Friday.
Wednesday or
I'm gonna
Thursday.
try
You
to.
can't do
For
it
Friday,
Friday
already-
before
I have
shower.
yeah, I do Friday.
I'm gonna try.
Do you brush your hair on, Yanta?
So,
That's
no,
common.
again, brushing your hair, we don't do.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because unless you can brush your hair with your hand,
You can use a comb too.
or a comb that's thick, that's wide, things you could use, yes.
I have a Shabbos comb.
Shabbos comb, I think,
Yeah.
maybe for the reason why, this is not really my topic, but.
The girls' class is all
I
about
know, I know.
thinking about your
All right.
face.
It's a nice.
I want a little more.
Forget the cooking part, we just want to be cooking.
I got the cooking part.
I've already started the cooking.
So,
marinating right now.
so when you brush your hair, right, there's something happens on Shabbos that
Oh,
you
hold
don't want to happen, right? And it's not forbidden. So you don't want to you can't pull hair out on Shabbos. That's a problem of what's called gozes. It's a problem of like shearing. It could theoretically be beautifying, in the process, whatever. Let's say it's part of the beautifying process. And therefore pulling out the hairs that split ends and hairs that are sticking out is part of the beautifying process, let's say. So, but if you don't want those hairs to come out, that's called psigresh below nichel. That's called a inadvertent thing that you don't want to happen. Okay? So now, when you do it when you brush your hair with a brush, you're definitely gonna have hair coming out.
Especially mine.
So that's why you can't do it. But if you use a comb or your hand or something that is not definitely gonna pull out hair, so even if the hair comes out, you didn't want it to come out,
Right.
so there's no problem. Okay, so you're allowed to do that. Now,
Borrow my comb.
let's get our cases. We got a lot of cases here. So now, ladies, let's stay focused. We got a lot to do.
We're focused on the wrong
I
thing.
know. We'll get to that. We'll get to the showering. So we have to go slowly to explain first the principle. So the principle is Yom Tov has the same rules as Shabbos, except there are certain exceptions of things you need to do for food or other universal needs for the holiday. Okay, now, so that would allow you to cook. It allow you to carry. Okay, it would allow you to slaughter an animal so you can eat it.
We're gonna slaughter animals.
I'd love to
We
slaughter
carry
animals.
outside an arrow.
So you carry outside of an arrow.
Yeah, for
yes.
holidays, but
Yeah.
Yes.
just for Shabbat.
On Yom Tov you can carry.
Yep,
Okay.
that's why we could carry to the silvers for the, because they're out.
So now, so carrying, transferring fire, slaughtering an animal.
People slaughter animals?
Yeah, on the you'd slaughter an animal, it'd be nice and fresh if you slaughter it.
But
Yeah.
I mean, like, who would do that?
What do you mean? What do you think your meat comes from?
No.
You think it grows in trees?
No, I'm saying like on a holiday.
They
Okay,
didn't
let's,
have nice.
after we have
reserves.
services, let's slaughter and then
Yeah,
let's
they didn't
cook
have a
that.
refrigerator, they didn't have.
I
a way
tell
to
you,
have
if you would once taste freshly slaughtered meat, you would never be vegetarian. Even Rachel would be vegetarian. לשחוט בהמה. לשחוט. לשחוט.
מותר אחד?
כן, כן, בטח.
בטח, זה הקורבנות.
Because they're korbanot, וזה האכילה. That's how people ate, because that was the good stuff. So these things you are allowed to do. Examples. Now, there's a principle which works in many cases. In the case I mentioned to you, it works in all the cases. In the cases of lighting a fire, of carrying. There's a principle like this. Since you're allowed to light a fire for, it only works with the sing-song voice, doesn't work anymore. And the thumb comes into it.
I got it.
Since you're allowed to light a fire for the sake of cooking food on Yom Tov, the law is once that's permissible for that, it's permissible for anything. It's something like carrying. Since you're allowed to carry food from one place to another, so it's part of your cooking, you know, especially in those days, you slaughtered the animal. How are you going to get the animal from where you slaughtered it to your kitchen? You have to carry the food. Since you're allowed to carry the food to go and to cook it, all carrying is permissible. All carrying is permissible. All transferring of fire is permissible.
Yeah, 'cause they're like, since you're allowed to eat our food, then you're allowed to eat a fire. One thing
Right. What's the problem?
I feel like that's our dog.
It still has to be shoved. But the problem is you don't accept, which I have a problem with also. What you don't accept is the concept, which I also have a problem with myself because I think realities change, and I don't know what the point is that everyone's going to agree it's change. That once you say showering every day is a universal thing, then at that point it would be exactly true. Just like you can go and you can heat up
Who makes
water
that
as that.
decision in
What?
general? Who decides that in general?
Well, the contemporary
starting
rabbis
at
of
that
generation.
right.
That's why I was sure there was going to be someone with big shoulders who said it. And you know, like I say, I called one of Eric Feinstein's very close students
And he
today.
disagreed that showering every day is not.
He said that Moshe, no one has said that it constitutes changing the situation yet.
Do you have to do like a survey, like a poll?
Yeah, no, there would be a point. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the point is. Look, reality is that if you go to places like Russia, it is definitely not a common thing. Russia has a unique fragrance to it. We had some friends who went to Russia, and they were.
It's too cold to shower there.
I don't know what it is, but we had these friends who went to Russia, and they came back and they said like, it's gonna be disgusting, but it smelled like body odor and cabbage. The whole country. They came back. They were traumatized. They had to go to therapy for like months. Like we had to remove all the. There was no more. We couldn't have stuff cabbage anymore when they were in the house. We had to they were traumatized.
Okay,
So,
we
okay,
can
anyway.
carry, we can slaughter, we
Yeah.
can.
So you can carry. You don't have to worry about if it's for food. Not you can carry. You can go and you can transfer fire for any purpose. Not just cooking. You can transfer fire for light. Okay.
So wait,
So-
question, why can you transfer fire and not light the
Ah.
fire?
So that's a good question. So now,
Okay.
from Torah law, you actually could light a fire, The rabbi said that there's something called molid. Molid is that you're creating something new, and that would be too similar to other forbidden things. The rabbis didn't want you to create something new. So the rabbi said that fire is permissible. We don't want you starting something, which is a problem of molid. We have it certain times in halacha that when you go and create something that out of nothing, make something new on Shabbos, they don't want you to do that. So it's a rabbinic law not to start something new because it's a problem of creating. Okay? So you could transfer. So you can transfer fire not just for food, you can transfer fire for other reasons too. You can carry for any reason. You need a reason to carry. You can't just go outside and carry for no reason. But any pleasure at all that you want for carrying, on Yom Tov you could do freely. Now, let's see. Now therefore, since here comes the sticky part of this. Since what I told you, things that you need for food is permissible, really that would permit a lot of things. That would permit separating, sifting, grinding, kneading. All of these things should be permissible. They're all part of the process. Now, here's where the laws of Yom Tov get complicated. There are restrictions on those things. Okay? Most people say they're rabbinic restrictions, some people say they're Torah restrictions, but there are restrictions. Restrictions are based on two ideas. Okay? One idea is, listen, the Torah allowed you to go and to do whatever you need for eating for that day. But things that are normally done, not for Yom Tov, they're normally done for many, many days, for months at a time. Like when you harvest your crop, you don't go into the field and cut down a little bit of wheat and make bread. If you did, then you can cut down your wheat, bake your bread. But since the way wheat is normally harvested, you do a whole field at one time, right? The rabbis did not allow you to go and to do any type of work that was done in mass on Yom Tov. Okay? Therefore, we're going to see when we get to grinding, which we'll talk about when it's permissible and what's not permissible. Grinding, you can never put it into a something that would be a industrial grinder, a mill. Even if you want to make a little loaf of bread, you can't go and say, "Oh, hey, I live next door to the bakery. They don't mind if I come in and use their industrial mill." You can't, because that mill is built to do things on a large scale, and that's going to be true for certain types of sifting. Sifting is also done on a large scale usually. So things that are done on a large scale, you have a problem. That's one reason. Yeah.
What about, so you, usually can have medications because of the grinding issue?
Yeah.
So what would that be? Because it's not like you're grinding for a bunch of medication,
It's a good question. So is there a problem of taking medication? Because what Ilan is asking is, the problem of taking medication is, generally speaking, it's a decree that you might come grind, make your own medication. So there is a decree of medication also, but you got to know there's certain factors about that, just as far as the Shabbos and Yom Tov. Any medication you need to take on a consistent basis, you can take.
Great.
Okay. Any medication that you, when you feel ill to the point that you would like to lie down, you can take. Okay. The only time we don't take medication is when it's called a choshesh, just like a little ache. Now, there are some opinions that hold that today we don't make our own medicines. We don't rely on this, but we do sometimes, if it's great need, we do combine this with, some people say, since today you don't make your own medicines, there's not a problem with taking medicine. We don't use that opinion, but in certain cases we will rely on that also. So, now, on Yom Tov, so that's one. Now, the second rationale is, and this is going to be a very important thing, because it's going to come out through everything. It's things that you could have done before Yom Tov. Why are you doing it on Yom Tov?
We were talking about what we were going to do ahead of time, kind of thing.
Right. So if you could make something on so Hashem allowed us to do things on Yom Tov for the need of Yom Tov. But there's no need to do it on Yom Tov. You could have done it the day before. Then why should you be allowed to do it on Yom Tov? Okay? Now, that principle is going to come out a lot. Okay? That principle is going to come out a lot. Okay? Where we're going to see that if you could have done it prior, you may not be allowed to do it on Yom Tov. So, for example, Rashi says in the Talmud, you can't go and trap an animal on Yom Tov. Well, why not? Why not? I want to trap an animal. I'm going to slaughter him and eat it. That's, right? This is what Morgan does all the time. When Morgan wants to eat a chicken,
Yeah.
she goes to Lynette's house, she catches a chicken, she slaughters it, and then she eats it. I see her do it.
throw it up and I see
That's
who
right.
does that thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm just joking.
why not? You joking? You're just joking?
Of course.
Oh,
I'm saying like I know this whole process.
Oh.
You know how it has to like do something before it falls or something?
Right. Okay. Moving right along. Okay. So why shouldn't I be allowed to do that? So says Rashi, because if you would have trapped the animal yesterday, it would have been the same thing as trapping it on Yom Tov. So why should you trap it on Yom Tov? You want to eat fine, so trap the animal the day before. So according to that, why are you allowed to cook on Yom Tov?
Because mine would be as fresh.
There you go. This is the pretty thing to understand. So, because anything that you could, if you would have done it the day before, it would not have been as good, that's allowed. Okay? Where's the exception? This is what, in all the books, what they bring, the exceptions are Jell-O, I don't know why, I don't, and compote, I don't know, but those,
Compote?
compote.
Those are not our
It should be slow cooked.
Right. So I'm not a chef. I don't know, but apparently those things are better when they're older. So right.
That's what
right.
I'm, so, my meal's right on.
Good.
Because I have two dishes, like green beans, I like par cooked 5 minutes today, and I'm gonna finish it right before because they're not good soggy from the day
Right.
before. But I'm serving warm honey cinnamon apples and putting them in the crock pot the day before because I don't want to cook them the day of, even though I could, because they're better long term, so why would I do it the day of?
Right. Very good.
Yes,
Exactly right.
So we were trying to decide on our chicken, because chicken 2 days
Chicken's
old.
better. Everything, almost everything except for compote and what's the thing, and pudding and Jell-O and what's the thing you said?
Warm cinnamon apple.
cinnamon honey apple.
Warm to know everything
Yeah,
else.
the little fried
Everything
eggs.
else is better
Fried.
than fresh.
We were trying to
Now-
decide. But it is a Yom Tov. You know, it's like, so do you want to be cooking? You know, it's like,
No, again, you want to make it nice Yom Tov, so you can cook before, but the
Like a
principle is
pre-cooked.
everything that's better, is permissible on the day. Something that's not better, you should have done it before. Now we're going to see, if you didn't do it before, there's going to be a way to do it still. Okay? We're going to see. If you didn't do it, there's going to be a way to do it on Yom Tov. You forgot to do it, whatever. You didn't do it. Okay? Let's take another example, which we'll get to grinding in a second. You want to grind spices. So generally speaking, if you grind certain kinds of spices, if you grind them before, they lose their flavor. Don't be as good. So those, no problem on Yom Tov. There are some that if you grind them before, they won't lose any flavor. They'll be just as good.
And you're supposed to know this?
We
you're
were
supposed to
told
know
that you are a
what-
culinary expert. First we were told that you catch your own chicken and then we were told you're a culinary expert.
No, especially not during this Yom Tov.
So you could, the things that are generally will go, let's say, things that I think examples of things that don't go bad, they bring pepper.
Yeah.
Pepper doesn't go bad, apparently.
so you shouldn't grind your pepper on.
But
So,
like crushing cardamom pod, that like flavor's totally different.
no, these things, that's grinding with, I wanted, yeah.
Garlic, you have to go. Can you do that?
I
Yeah, these things,
so.
they say,
Or you could
According to
pre-
that,
You wouldn't do it ahead of time, because it wouldn't be 2 days
all right,
later.
so let me give you an example they bring in this book here. He says pepper, horseradish, and cheese lose their flavor a little bit if you do it before. Things don't lose their flavor at all are walnuts and almonds. Okay? So if you're crushing walnuts and almonds, you should do it before. If you're making salad, you should not do it
You can't
before
do walnuts.
because
You can't do nuts on Rosh Hashanah.
okay, this is for all the holidays.
Yeah, I just heard
Okay.
How can you do
I'm
nuts?
not supposed to do nuts on Rosh Hashanah.
No, it's
Friday night is Rosh
Yeah,
Hashanah.
no, let me
Saturday.
clear,
okay.
no, I have to clear it up for you.
Right, okay, yeah.
No, I have to clear it up for you, everybody. Just figured it out. It just can't stand alone.
Yeah. I told him if it's mixed in with other things, it's not a majority, it's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what you
Yeah,
told me
somebody
the
was
other
just
day.
talking, some
Why?
ladies were telling me about this.
Because it's a strange kind of thing. It's this idea that we try to do everything perfect on Rosh Hashanah. We talk about it's the DNA of the year, and we have this thing, this mystical thing, that the numerical value, the gematria of egos, of nuts, the numerical value is the same as chet, sin. So people are very sensitive, they don't.
So it's
Listen.
not really like a halacha.
It's a custom.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a
All
custom.
the
But I'm
Kabbalah ladies
curating
were talking
them,
about
that's
this.
what-
Kabbalahs do it, don't do it. Kabbalahs probably do it, I'm sure, no?
They
Kabbalah
were
people
saying
do
you
it.
weren't, they were telling me about the not using nuts, and I was like, I'd never heard it before, and they were
Yeah.
all like, yeah, no, you're
They
not.
probably don't use nuts at all.
Yeah.
Those-
So, but if it's not the main thing that's mixed in, then you could use
Okay.
it. But
What
again,
about grating?
what?
What about like grating lemon?
So we're gonna get to one
Okay,
second.
yeah,
But
got
but again, I'm giving you just the opening principle. This is the opening statement right here.
This class is gonna be long. We
I
got a
know,
lot
I'm
more to
worried about
learn.
this now. So now,
I'm enjoying
Part
this.
2 is smart.
yeah,
Oh,
probably-
no.
No,
No, we're not.
I was like, are you kidding? I have to cook 4 chickens, 4 bowls galore.
And if you catch him first in the slaughter
To
too.
catch them, of course.
Yes.
And that's a whole process on its own,
Yeah,
the
I
whole
know, yeah.
process.
So let's get the two principles now. That is the introduction, because this is going to be a theme throughout. Anything that you could have done before Yom Tov, which is permissible on Yom Tov, but you could have done before, and it wouldn't have lost its flavor. You could have cooked it, you could have been grinding it, you could have, let's say, separated it, all these things, and it would have been the same exact thing, then really you should have done it before. Now, how much do we penalize you on Yom Tov? The answer is going to be that you can basically still do these things with a shinoi.
A what?
A shinoi is an abnormal way. It's a rabbinic reason you can't do it. The rabbi said, therefore, we're not going to say you can't now have your things on. So you just have to have crushed walnuts mixed very much into your ice cream. You can't even see it on Rosh Hashanah. So you forgot to break them before Rosh Hashanah. So you can take now a hammer and crush them. It's an abnormal way to do it. Or you can take you can crush them some other abnormal way. Okay, the back of a knife, whatever you would not normally do in an abnormal way. That's going to be the normal process. The normal process is going to be that almost everything that we're going to see that you should have done before and you didn't will still be permissible, but it's called a shino, an indirect way to do it. Okay, that's what we're going to get at. But the second part I told you, anything that you do in a mass system, right? An industrial-sized mill, you can't do anything. You can't grind something up in that, even for your one little piece of
Can
cake.
you use a little mortar and pestle?
So we're gonna see, yeah, you can use something for again.
But that's normal.
That's normal. So you can only do it for things that you need to grind on Yom Tov, like lettuce, vegetables, things that would go bad if you'd done it before. Then you had no obligation to do it earlier. Okay. Now let's go through the things. Okay.
We only got through like the first few lines.
Yeah, my first line, yeah. Okay. All right. Since we started, we were talking about tochem. We're talking about grinding. Let's finish up grinding. So grinding again. The rule is, if the thing you're grinding up would get ruined, okay, or get bad or worse, then the halacha is that you're allowed to do it on Yom Tov. Okay, so you can cut vegetables on Yom Tov for your salad, not a problem. But if what you're cutting up now, or grinding up, you could have done it before, and it wouldn't have really been so bad, even if it would have lost a little bit of its taste.
You said like putting salad dressing together?
Putting salad together.
No, like the not so much the salad, but like the dressing.
Salad also, because this is called grinding. When you cut your vegetables up very, very small, that's called grinding. You just know that on Shabbos,
But they're not,
Shabbos when grinding is forbidden,
you want to do bigger chunks.
you gotta do bigger than normal, otherwise it's called grinding, exactly. So on Yom Tov you're allowed to do it. It's part of your cooking process. But you are not allowed to do it if it's something that would have not lost its flavor if you did it earlier. If you want to do something like that, walnuts and almonds, those totally you gotta do before, because those really don't go bad. But even things like pepper, horseradish, and cheese, which will go a little bit off if you did it the day before, but they won't be ruined, you would still should do it with a abnormal way, a shino. Just do a little change. It could be anything. If you normally grind it on a plate, grind it on the table. If you normally grind it with the knife, do it the back handle of it. Make a change in how you do it, and then it's permissible. Okay?
It's permissible even if it will lose, even
What's
if
that?
it won't lose its flavor?
If it won't lose its flavor, if it's something that will not lose its flavor if you would have done it earlier, then you need to do it abnormally. If it's something that would have gone bad if I did it earlier, right?
Then you can do it.
Then you do it normal.
So, I mean, either way you can do it.
Either way you can do it, right. As I told you before, it's the way out. The way out we're going to have is that you're allowed to do the things that you should have done before, and you didn't. Generally, in every case, they're going to give you, the rabbis will give you a leniency to do it in an abnormal way.
What about checking lettuce?
Well, check it.
Well, yes, no, I'm saying,
Please.
no, I'm going to check it. No, I'm saying like, Adam and I were talking about this, it's better to do it closer to like using it because.
That's me boreware. That we get to the next. That's me boreware. That's the next thing. That's not grinding now.
Oh,
You're talking
right.
about
I'm
you're talking
thinking
about
of-
separating. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, so that's basically the idea of grinding. And what I said is that it is anything that's used for a large amount, like this, like industrial sized things, that you can't use at all. Okay, unless it says you can't use it. Okay, that's grinding. Let's talk about now separating. Separating is actually really complicated in Yom Tov. It's very simple in Shabbos. Very simple in Shabbos. My favorite Shabbos malacha to teach because it's so easy.
Mess up.
No, the rules are so simple in Shabbos. It's very clear. What?
Just taking the good from bad, not the bad.
Yeah, there are. Let's go through it. I'm going to actually keep
I have
this
one
book open
in the
and just think
kitchen.
and give you good examples.
Oh, jeepers.
I just want to have the page open so it gives you good analogies.
Should do that there.
Okay, now let's talk about the laws of separating. Borer. On Shabbos, there are 3 rules. It's very simple. Shabbos, there are 3 rules for separating and 1 meta rule. Meta rule. The meta rule is that when I tell you it's forbidden to separate good from bad, that's only if they're actually a mixture. If they're not really mixed together, there's no problem. That's the meta rule. So this is what I love to do, and all the women are going to hate this because my wife hates it. But every time I do it, I have a halachic source for it. The Talmud brings it. If you go and you find your laundry basket, and all your stuff's mixed up, you don't know what to do. You don't want to sit there pulling the bad out and the good out. You don't know what it is. You can't see anything. What you got to do is you take the laundry basket and chuck it across the room. It spreads out all over the place. And now it's not called a mixture. I get so much pleasure
It's a
out of
mess.
doing that because I always can point to the halachic right to do such a thing. Yeah, I have to pick it up afterwards anyway. It's that one moment when I can do that. So that's a meta rule. So whenever something's not really mixed together, you have on your plate, you got you hate peas and you love carrots. So when they serve you peas and carrots, you got a problem. It's a mixture. But if you got a pea here and a carrot here, that's not a problem. They're not even mixed together. You can see they're not mixed. You know, and if 3 of them are mixed here and the rest are not, these are not mixed. So that's the meta rule. If something's not a mixture, there's no problem. That'd be a mixture.
So you can pull a pit out of an avocado.
Why do you say that? I mean, why you say that based on what I just said now?
That was a question, it's not Shabbos.
It may be, but what I said now, it is a mixture because it's mixed together.
I mean, is it?
I think,
I mean,
yeah.
because it's one, so you
Yeah.
can't take the pit out, you have to remove the flesh around it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That doesn't really fit into this rule. That's called a mixture.
Okay.
Yeah. It has other ways to do it. And I don't get too caught because it's Shabbos. I want to get the Yom Tov part.
Okay.
But there are 3 rules, specific rules about how to do it on Shabbos to allow it. One is you take the good from the bad. Good from the bad, it's always fine. Okay? Peas and carrots, you like peas, take the peas. Rule 1. Rule 2, it's got to be for immediate use. Okay? You can't separate it now for the next meal. Okay? The third rule is that you can't use a vessel that's used for separating. Okay? Now, that means, let's say, a slotted spoon you can't use. Okay? If the vessel you're using is not making it easier to separate, right? Let's say, for example, you want to take a spoon and you have olives in water and you want to pull out the olives. So you're using a vessel. That's true. But you could just as easily use your hands.
Yeah.
Why do you not use your hands? Because it's disgusting. Stick your hands in everybody's, olive mix
What
there.
else do you know?
I know what's supposed to back. I don't want to.
I'm just joking.
But the halacha is therefore, your spoon is then only an extension of your hand. It's not a vessel that's for separating. It's only just an extension of your hand. So then you'd be allowed to do that.
So you're
Okay?
saying with the avocado, you have to work around the pit. Is that what you're saying? Like normally you would like.
That may well be true. There's another rule though, and because avocados falls into this. There's another rule that if you have like an orange and you can't get to the food without removing that, you can take the peel off. Because there's a few reasons why you can do that, but one reason is it's the only way to eat it. It's built that way. You just taking off a thing to get to inside. What an avocado would be on the inside pit, I think it's probably pretty easy to cut it away. I don't know. I'm not even sure how the best way to eat an olive is during the week. I don't know. I was sucking on an olive pit today, trying to figure it out. I didn't have a fork. How do I do this? I have a spoon. So I don't know. But the olive pit, maybe it's easy just to cut it away. Now, those are the laws for Shabbos and Borer. Now, however, on Yom Tov it's very different. Because in Yom Tov, really the rule is that technically you're allowed to do Borer on Yom Tov. You're technically allowed to do Borer on Yom Tov.
But you shouldn't.
No, you should.
Oh, I thought you were
You
going
should.
to say.
No,
but-
there are a few qualifications. But technically, you could do it. All right. There are some people that say, this is not agreed by everyone, some people that say that if you can make some type of a shinui and avoid borer on Yom Tov, you should. So the example they give is, if you have a piece of meat that has fat on it, and you want to cut it away, instead of cutting the fat away, what you would do on Shabbos, what would you do on Shabbos?
You just eat
Cut
good
the meat off.
That's one way. What's the other way? What?
Cut the meat off?
I mean, cut the good part, yeah, but there's another way to do it. If you cut away the fat with a little bit, tiny bit of the meat,
attached to it.
then that's permissible. Why is that permissible on Shabbos?
It's not separating it.
Not separating.
It still has
The good and the bad stay mixed together. I separated good from good.
That's sneaky.
Yeah, it's very sneaky. So a fly falls in your soup. So instead of pulling the fly out,
You do a whole
take
soup.
a spoonful. Because now you're separating the good from the good. The bad's still with this good.
I like that.
So some people say that if you have a case like that, you should still do that Yom Tov to avoid borer. So if you have a case where you're cutting a piece of meat that has fat, so then if you want, it's neither opinions that hold, you should cut a little bit of the fat to avoid borer when you can. Okay? But the main rule of borer is actually, in a certain sense, the opposite. That really is avoid borer when you don't need to do borer. Okay, but now you need to do borer. Okay, you have peas and carrots, and you can't stand peas. Okay, so now what do? On Shabbos, what do? If you hate the peas, what do you eat the carrots? Now, on Yom Tov, to do the same thing? Not necessarily. On Yom Tov, the rule is whatever is the least hassle is what you're supposed to do. So that means on Yom Tov, if you have peas and carrots, and you hate peas and you love carrots, but there are a lot of carrots and a few peas, and you want to scoop them up, then pulling the carrots away is more of a hassle. And therefore on Yom Tov, which technically borer is permissible for the purpose of eating, you should take away whatever is less. So the general rule of borer on Yom Tov is borer is permissible, okay, if you could have not a situation of borer, avoid the situation entirely. If you have a situation of borer, the main rule is that do the borer, but do it in a way that's least difficult.
Then you can check your lettuce in a colander.
What?
So then you can check your lettuce in a colander, or you can wash your grapes in a colander. Strainer.
Okay, let me get the third rule, and I believe that will be true. But the third rule is you have to use a vessel that you cannot use a vessel that is normally a borer vessel that's normally used for large amounts. So I don't know what that would be, like a I don't know, giant sifter, I guess, something like that. So that vessel you can't use because that's built for large amounts. Okay, a slotted spoon you could use on Yom Tov. Okay, you could use that. Now, other borers you could do as long as it's not a vessel that is something that I can't give an example. Maybe give you.
Well, I mean, what about a colander?
That's like a small household quantity.
I think it's a household thing.
Yeah, it's not an
That
industrial
would be
quantity.
easy.
Because I feel like it's probably tied in the same like grain issue where they're talking about doing industrial quantities.
Right. So,
But using your colander at home. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just-
So a peeler is allowed, a corer is allowed, a spoon is allowed. Here's an example. One may not use a sieve for sorting Yom Tov because a sieve is normally used for large-scale sorting. Straining soup's allowed. Tea bags allowed. All these things are allowed. Taking off the pits of your honeydew or your watermelon, that's all allowed. But the example he gives here is a sieve is a problem. So a sieve is something for large scale. Okay? Also, he says if you're going to wash dirt off of food, don't do it, don't put it into the bowl and fill the bowl up, because that's called separating the dirt from the thing with a kli, and that's made for large amounts. Better if it's running under the water. Okay?
What?
If you have, let's say, a bowl of, you have dirty grapes, you can put it into a giant pot, put the water in, and then let it separate, and then pull the grapes out, or you're better off running it under the water. You're better off running it under the water.
not putting them in the colander.
The colander,
grapes are really
the
check anyway, you just rinse.
colander.
Yeah, but I still like spraying it with the veggie wash anyway.
Don't eat my grapes.
I ain't asking about what you do.
I don't think a colander is not used for large things.
They're gross.
Yeah.
I just think about washing them.
Columns are not used for large things, right? No.
No, it's just like a
No.
household amount.
No.
My colander's
bowl.
Okay.
Mine's not even that big.
Kneading is permissible. And so again, now the rule is
What do
so
I need?
when you make your bread,
People are gonna bake their bread?
you don't bake bread. Huh?
No, on Yom Tov. Are you kidding me? I baked it last week, froze it.
So the baking bread is one of the examples of the Talmud that you can definitely do on Yom Tov, because baked bread, fresh bread is so much better than not fresh bread.
Uh,
I know. I wouldn't know that. I don't think I ever had
Plus
fresh
the
bread.
ovens
so.
turn off after.
You never
Okay.
had fresh bread.
Not my oven.
When did I have bread that was baked the same
Not
day?
in my oven, Morgan.
I know, well, we all can't be like
All right,
that.
but kneading is permissible. Kneading is not just by bread. Kneading happens by making
Presents a whole new
tchina.
set of problems.
You make tchina, it's called kneading.
You made what?
Making tchina.
Making
They
tchina.
don't have it in America like that? When you take sesame
It says
butter, put water in it, and do you have that here?
They
Oh,
do.
they don't have that in America, I don't know.
Oh, I was.
In Israel, then you mix it up, and then it gets liquid, and then it gets thick. That thickness is actually called kneading. Making oatmeal, it's called kneading. That's permissible in Yom Tov. It's
It
part of it.
is. I can actually make oatmeal. I can use
Sure.
my hot water urn
Yeah,
and pour it into the oatmeal and.
yeah. Now, let's talk about
Wouldn't do
one or
that.
two more things, we're gonna call it a day.
Okay. Wait, but you never mentioned, what about grating? Because that happens a lot in my house with like making salad dressings, lemon,
So,
ginger,
Yeah.
garlic.
grating is, that is the case that we said before, that's the case, that,
It's more fresh when you do it.
Yeah, you would.
so you should do with some kind of change. Just do it, you could
Do
do
it
it.
upside down.
No, but it's more
Do
fresh.
No, you can't, you can't do that kind of stuff ahead of time, most of the time.
If there's no, if it is, if it's something that would be ruined, then you could do it.
Yeah, you can grate a lemon 2 or 3 days ahead of time and then use the grate it stuff, it wouldn't be good.
I think he lists lemon as one of the things that would go bad. But he has like this,
You could probably grate ginger,
what's that?
right?
Maybe. But it
That's
gets
what you're
meal,
using.
it gets all,
No, it's not as fresh. Just
it's not, it gets watery. when it's not- yeah.
So what do you grate? Give me an example. What do you grate?
Lemon, ginger, garlic, a lot of things.
And like, I mince garlic. and
Apples,
press.
bananas, matzah, potatoes, vegetables.
I don't mince anything.
Those are an example of things that
You
would
grate.
go bad. This is an example of
Say
things that
that
won't go
again?
bad. Cheese.
I
His example of things that will go bad are apples, bananas, matzah, potatoes, vegetables. Those will go bad.
For
What
grating.
won't go bad at all
Makes sense.
is almonds and walnuts. What goes bad slightly, and you should do it ashino, is peppers, horseradish, and cheese. So depends how the food is. You know, he brings this is brought in the Gemara, in the Rishonim, in the Poskim. It says, like, for example, horseradish. Horseradish definitely goes bad if you do it early. But they say, and therefore, technically horseradish you could just do normally. But many people have the custom that since it won't go totally bad, if you cut up your vegetables hours in advance, they're gonna wilt. They'll be totally bad. If you grind up your horseradish an hour before, it'll lose some of its punch, but it won't go bad. So the idea is that if it's something that you need to do then do it normally. If it's
Okay.
something that it doesn't really go, it goes a little bit, then just make a slight change to it.
Right, can you do it standing on one foot and call that?
No, the change should be in the thing. But you don't need a big change. Whatever, if you normally do it onto a plate, do it on the table.
Squeezing lemon juice.
That's something else.
Yeah.
That's what squeezing. Squeezing, srita, okay, will have the same laws. That squeezing stuff will have the same laws like on Shabbos, which means that you can squeeze it onto, so we're not going to allow, that's something that was done in mass quantities. Squeezing is a derivative of threshing, because it's pulling. You see, the difference between borer, separating, and threshing is that borer are two items that are mixed together, you're separating them. When you have one item that you want to pull out the good from the bad, that's called threshing. So taking wheat and crushing it, that's called threshing. Taking a grape and squeezing out the juice, that's called threshing. So the rule of that is that we don't do that because that's done in mass in mass generally. But the rules are that just like on Shabbos, you squeeze it onto any food you want. The food you squeeze it onto food, you squeeze it onto food. You don't squeeze lemons into right. The law is you can take lemon and squeeze it onto fish.
What about salad dressing now?
So you can't squeeze the lemon onto liquid because the rule is if what you're
That's fine.
squeezing here goes onto a liquid, it becomes nullified in the liquid. If it goes into, so right now, when the lemon is absorbed with its juice, so what happens is, it's called a food. the juice is absorbed in the food. So if I squeeze it onto a plate, I've just taken water, liquid, out of a solid. If I squeeze it into another liquid, I put liquid from a solid. If I squeeze it onto a solid, it's gone from solid state to solid state. So for example, if you want to make lemonade, okay? So you can't squeeze the lemon into the water and then put sugar in. But you can go put sugar, squeeze the lemon onto the sugar, and then take the sugar and put it into water. That you can do.
Or you can put a big bottle of meal lemon.
So what about making salad dressing? So if you're making a salad dressing with lemon, I guess, first of all, you could just use already squeezed lemon.
Yeah, or you
Right.
could squeeze it onto the salad.
Right.
Yeah, but who does that?
Don't squeeze it onto the things, but into the salad. Okay?
Okay,
Kind of makes
remember all-
sense?
Yes.
That's where we're having certain things on Friday, not
Okay.
to avoid.
Well, we have that already squeezable, we already have the squeezed
Right.
lemon, so it's not a big deal.
Okay, now, let's go. One or two more things. Cooking. Cooking's our big one.
Oh, yeah.
Cooking's our
Yeah, I
big
have
one.
big questions about that.
Now, so again, you could transfer any fire. That you could do. So, now here comes one that nobody likes. Someone argued me last year. I also tried to find any source. I didn't find any valid source of this leniency. Someone said, no, but it's not right. I also didn't find anything. The law is that you could raise the fire. Okay, you could raise the fire.
This is like gas. I mean,
You could do whatever you
Or
want.
stovetop
Gas, you
gas.
could do it if you're barbecuing, you could throw more wood in there. You're allowed to transfer fire, to increase fire. You're allowed to do any transference of creating fire for the purpose of cooking. You could even put fire out for cooking. So for example, let's say your oven is on high. Okay, your gas is on high. And now you got to cook something that's delicate and needs a low simmer. You could turn your oven down to cook it on a low simmer.
I thought you just said you couldn't do that.
No, that's what I
Okay,
said.
so this is where it gets very confusing.
So let's hear. Moshe Feinstein holds you could do that. What you cannot do is lower your fire because you don't want to use the gas, because you don't want to, burn the gas for no reason. That's nothing to do with cooking. You could lower your fire in order for cooking, because you're allowed to change fire for the purpose of cooking.
Okay, so let me this is really important for me, because
Yeah.
I have a Shabbos oven. So I can turn it up and down.
Well, an oven, how an oven
So-
works. Because I'm talking right now about a gas stove,
So that's why I'm asking.
because I don't know how, the oven depends on how it works. Meaning
Yeah.
that electric appliances have a problem that when you raise them, the way it works is it's not like increasing more gas or more wood. What it does is it sits on a totally separate element. That's usually how when you have an electric, let's say hot plate, or electric something like that, when you put on the next mode, what it's doing is putting on a whole new system of electricity. So I don't know how your oven works. Do you know how
I
your
mean,
oven
it's
works?
specifically supposed to be for Yom Tovs, and it randomly changes the temperature. When you hit the button, nothing
Doesn't do
happens,
it.
and then at some point it randomly changes it, which never shows on the temperature never shows ever.
Ours doesn't
But-
work, but we have the same thing.
But
What does it do? Say again?
so if I were to hit a temperature and hit start, nothing changes on the screen. And
Okay.
then at some point randomly, the temperature changes and all I know is that, and nothing happens. I mean, you just know it happened. At some point it's gonna happen, but you can't see it happening.
How's that helpful? Because you don't know when the temperature's right.
Cause you will change it.
Sometimes.
You hit the button on it.
It's
You get
made
to-
for that? That's probably something like a grumble, it sounds. It sounds like an indirect
Right, it's some
cause.
kind of indirect thing going on there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Joel scooter.
Yeah, kind of like that. But I mean, it's supposedly exactly for Yom Tov. That's why I didn't understand, so I can or can't do that. to turn it down to like,
I don't know how the thing works. I mean, do you know
I
what
think
company
you need
made
to go
it?
there.
yeah, I mean, we got it.
and
It's I mean, I
Do
can.
you know what company it is?
Yeah, I
If
mean,
it's so met, it's fine.
I mean, it was like supposedly.
It actually has, like, in the manual, it actually had
Right.
certified it.
Oh, okay, so
It
tell
was
me
great.
so-
Yeah, it's in the manual, it's certified
So it's
specifically
certified.
for this, this is what we bought
Yeah,
it
so
for.
I imagine the guys know what they were doing.
But I don't
how they
know,
did it.
so I was gonna just set one at one, I have two, I was gonna set my meat at 350 and my parv oven at 200, and then just have one, you know, but see, the problem is, yeah, if you're leaving something long-term, I'd wanna transfer it to the 200, but then if I take something that's been in the meat oven, I put it in my parv oven, now my parv oven's no longer parv anymore, correct? Even if it's a parv item.
Why
So
not?
I was just, I don't know,
Is
I'm
it
both on
asking,
at
because
the
I was
same
like so
time?
confused about what to do and how
they're
to.
both on at the same time?
If it cooked in
Is
the
that
flesh, I
why
don't
you
understand
did
why. Cooked in the flesh oven, what did it do? I don't understand.
Wait, what?
She
Wha-
said
wha-
just
wha-
put
wha-
a meat element
If
into
I-
the
if I-
parv oven, that just turned that
Meat
parv oven
food?
into meat, yeah.
You took meat food?
So if I put, let's just start with something parv that I wanted to get really hot, so I was afraid to turn things up and down, even in my new I wasn't sure if I could. So I was gonna leave one is a meat oven and one is a parv, so I was gonna put, even if it's like a parv thing in my meat oven to get, because I was gonna leave that on the 350 one, so it could get really hot, and then I could move it to the warm if we were like waiting till 9 o'clock for people to show up for Shabbos
Okay.
dinner. Okay, so once I do that, if it's a parv item, then I heat it in my meat oven and then I put it in my parv oven, does that then make my parv oven meat?
No.
No, that would be okay to do.
Doesn't make the item meat.
You're putting the parb item in the meat oven.
Just to get hot
It
enough,
make the meat, it makes it,
not to cook, just to get
it
hot
makes
enough.
it makes it not, it makes it Tom Fleischer.
You
which-
can't
which
drink
is-
a cup of milk with your parv oven, like your parv
Yeah,
item.
if you take a cake that you cooked in your parb oven,
You just can have a cup
and then you
of milk.
stuck it in your meat oven, and your meat oven was used within 24 hours, then
With
you
something-
can't have it with a cup of milk. But you could eat it, and you could eat it.
But I'm asking you, does it mess up my parv oven, become not parv anymore? Do I need to after I'm done to
If you had what, you put it, you
if
put
I
out,
took something in the meat oven and put it in my parv oven,
and,
But it was parv,
that was parv.
it was parb.
but it
And
was,
the-
the oven was used.
And it was parb, and the item inside there was not used for meat within 24 hours. The thing itself was parv. It was sitting on a rack, it wasn't sitting on a meat on, yeah, it'd be fine.
But if it was used within 24 hours, like let's say she cooked her turkey and then after that she decided to cook her brownies in that one oven and transfer it to the parv oven.
So I'm saying, but, I mean, if the pot, you know, the pan you're sitting in is a meaty pan, there's juice sitting in there, so then it still wouldn't be a problem. But
Okay.
don't, it'd be not for
So
now,
that
it'd be
makes-
so far removed, it would be nothing. But you wanna be careful, so just take a pot that you haven't used for 24 hours, a parv thing, and then you can put that, and you cook in your fleischer oven, right, and you can put it in the parv oven, yeah. But, and your thing probably sounds fine, I don't know what it is, I mean, I don't know the reality to see your thing. But what I'm talking about here is the principle, usually this happens with stove tops. Same principle would be, if you have a pilot light, you could raise your thing. Because you're just increasing the thing, you're increasing your burning. But what I was arguing about was, some people said that you can raise it, and then you could lower it. That's not true, that's just not true, there's no source for that. You could raise it and for cooking, and you could lower it for cooking.
See, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, but not
On
everyone
the
agrees
stove.
to
I mean,
that.
I
That
didn't
would be
know
there.
on the stove you could do that.
That's an argument between Moshe Feinstein or Shlomo Zalman. According to one opinion like this, let's say I have two burners, okay? This is on high. This is not on. So now I want to cook something on a lower temperature. So what do? Do I put this one on a low temperature?
I think
Or do I lower this and put this on that? I would rather lower this and put it on that. I'm not having my flame going so high. So the answer is that it's an argument, but we hold it from Moshe here, that you could lower it because the lowering is for the purpose of cooking. could
Here's-
raise or lower the fire temperature, but you can't lower just because you don't want to use the thing. Unless you want to do this other trick you could do, which is you could take a pot of water, you want to put your pilot light, you want to turn your gas off, take a pot of water, fill it to the top, boil it up so you can have a nice cup of coffee, let it boil over, so then directly put out that fire, and then you can close the gas. That's what, if people sometimes have a situation where they feel uncomfortable with gas, that's called a gram kiboy, an indirect putting out of a thing, which we allow in cases of need, and then you can just turn the gas off because there's no fire on. That's also a possibility. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really scared about leaving my gas stove on for 3 days. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
You have to keep
Is
your
it- can
windows
people do
open
that?
too or something.
You do it? I mean, it just scares me. I don't know
So
why. I don't know if that's
So-
it's just a totally,
No, I don't think it's totally crazy.
My blech, I have a blech that has, a knob with different temperatures, and it's electric.
Right.
So am I allowed to adjust the temperature?
You have to look how it works, most likely not.
Oh, really?
Because if it's electric, the way electrics work in
Alright.
99% of the cases is they have a separate mechanism that works. So level 1 is this thing on. Level 2 is now there's another thing on. It's not increasing.
You put on
It's
timers.
like a separate,
I mean, I'll just leave it, it's not a big deal.
So we're gonna put on timers.
Now, let's say one last halacha.
So the oven, you just have to have it on one temperature at a time.
What's that?
If it's an electric oven, you just have it on one
Yeah,
temperature.
because most likely, unless you find out it's me, you tell me, most likely it's a problem.
I'm gonna get that special oven one day.
Alright.
Uh-huh.
Let's say one last halacha.
So you're saying that if you're cooking and you're done with it being on high, you can't turn it down.
That's right.
So maybe I would have to maybe
So
put
then,
something on a lower thing and just make
well,
myself.
don't make a trick there. You gotta have something that's gotta be real. You gotta take something now, if you wanna cook something that will not do well on a high fire, then you could lower it for that. But you can't make it a shtick here.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. So you have to keep it low. You have to keep it low.
So once you go high, you can't go back.
Unless you're gonna cook something.
I know, but what are you gonna cook something that's gonna be lower? Normally-
Maybe
There are a lot
I
of
can do
things that I
something
know.
overnight.
I don't know what, I'm not a chef, but I know
wait,
people.
what's the issue now? I'm
I
sorry.
say like once you go back up, because like we all know that when we're cooking, like you're gonna be cooking, you're gonna want it on high, so it's gonna make you turn it back to
So
being
maybe you
low.
turn up high, but maybe the next day you're rewarming some leftovers, and you don't want it high because that's gonna cook something that's already cooked. You only
Gonna
want
burn
it
it.
slightly warm.
I
So
get
then
it.
you would turn it down, you would warm up your leftovers.
Yeah, it's gotta be real though. This is not, there
That's
are,
fine.
there are certain things that we're gonna see right now called harama. There's certain cases where, and you gotta know where, there's certain cases where you're allowed to do it, even though you may be doing it for other purposes. This is what I wouldn't play around with, because this is actually, this is not just, this is a,
Yeah.
now they just turn it down, you have to turn it down, there's a reason you want to turn it down. If someone's out in the hills, you can't turn it down at all. Okay, last point. We had this thing about cooking. So you can cook for the day, you can't cook for the next day. It's always very problematic.
Oh my gosh, especially when it's so late at night.
So, and you can't, there's no way really around it, but there is one thing I just want you to know in general in terms of cooking. There is something called, when I'm cooking some food right now for the holiday, if I cook extra and there's leftovers, that's permissible. Okay? Even I know there's gonna be extras, I'm allowed to cook more.
Are you saying to heat it up beforehand?
No, I'm saying,
Ah.
I'm cooking on Thursday. And Thursday is the first day Yom Tov. I'm cooking Thursday. And I'm cooking a pot of meat. And I end up cooking up a giant pot of meat. And then I end up having leftovers for Friday. That's permissible. Okay? Now, there's certain qualifications you need to know. It's called marbeh b'shurim. It's called adding more to the pot. Okay? Now, here are the rules you gotta know about this.
Okay.
It has to be one act. Means when you're popping food into the pot, right? it's not considered harder to throw in 2 bags of meat or 1 bag of meat. So you're throwing it all in, and you're putting it on the fire. It's one act. This act of loading up the pot, it's not a problem. Opening the bag and putting more things in, that's not a problem. If you have to really prepare it and peel everything, that may be a problem, doing extra. You have to be exacting, but then if you really try and do extra and you're doing a lot of work, that's a problem. But if you're just basically putting in, throwing more vegetables in and throwing more meat, and you're throwing in a lot, right? Then what happens is that now you take it and you put it on the fire, even though you just cooked twice as much stuff, that's okay. Because it was only one act, there was no extra work that you did. Once you put it on the fire though, you can't now add stuff, because that's considered 2 separate acts of putting it on the fire. One was the first amount, and now you say, hey, you know what, I want to add extra, I have more for tomorrow, but you can't do that.
Now, what are
So
you
it's got to be
saying?
one act.
When are you doing this?
Let's say the first of Yom Tov, you want to cook extra, you're going to have
Thursday
leftovers
day?
through the day, you have extras on Friday.
So you're serving the same soup Thursday, lunch, and
Or the same thing for Sukkot. 2 days of Sukkot. You're getting tired, it's the 8th day of Sukkot. You don't feel like cooking anymore,
That's gonna be
So you throw in more, you make a big pot. That's permissible, but again, it can't be 2 separate acts. And you can never, and that's rule 1. Rule 2 is that it's only true when it's all one hassle. Meaning, if you're making blintzes, where each one you gotta sit there and roll it up, and making crepe, each one you gotta flip and turn. So there, each one you're making is extra. So you can't go and say, you know what, I know a 10 would be good, but I'll make 20 because I'll have extra to yourself, because each one is really working for the next day. It's only good when you're just throwing all the stuff in there, okay? So
What if you're just the kind of person who you just don't know how much people are gonna
you can
eat?
then know where,
And
right,
you wanna be sure
that's
you
all
have
okay.
enough, and there
That's-
happens to be a
That's
leftover,
all
you
okay.
can still use
That's
it.
fine, that's fine. I'm talking about where you specifically are doing this because you want more.
Okay.
I'm talking it's even allowed when you want more. But you don't have to say, hey, I'm doing this like I have extra. You can't say it. But you can think it there. Now, you can think it, yeah. Your case is certainly you don't have to be exact. You throw an extra and that's fine. Not only that, that if you throw an extra that makes the food taste better, then you could actually just, even when it's on the fire ready, if theoretically you said, hey, you know what, I'll throw more stuff in because it makes the food taste better, even if you're going to have leftovers tomorrow, but it's for the cooking right now, that's even permissible when it's on the fire already. Okay? That's a very important principle called Mari B'Shur, and that's you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to go and to do it in a way, now, if you want to go and say, hey, so let's say you cook more, so that's fine. If you now cook a number of dishes and you eat, let's say what happens if you cook a dish, you cook meat, and then you cook some chicken. That's fine, because you could eat it on the same day. But what happens if you go and you ate your meal, you finish the meal, and now you decide, I'll cook something up just in case I feel like eating more. That's obvious that you're cooking for the next day. That you can't do. So you're allowed to cook stuff that you could use for that day and have leftovers, as long as it's done in such a way that you're not creating it where it's obviously more work and it's not obviously being done for the next day.
The question, this also sounds like a loophole because, and I'm not doing this, I'm only too much. But if I were hosting Thursday night dinner and it doesn't come in until very late, 9 o'clock, let's say, and you have children or elderly that eat their dinner at 5:30, they go to bed before then, could you technically make the meal, get it ready, because you're not supposed to do it that day for that night, but could you do it that day because they're going to be eating it during the day?
You all do it every Simchas Torah.
Right.
That's what I do. Now, there's one problem that every time it has, I always think it's one thing, another should have put two, is another thing too. But what we do is what happens is, we end up on Simchas Torah we want to eat. But if you wait till Shabbos is out, so what happens is, I'm not saying that we do this on tricks, I can't say it, but you understand the logic of what we're doing here. If we would heat up the food, similar to our dancing, and we heat it up when Shabbos is out in Atlanta at 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
nobody's eating till 10:30, everyone's finished. So what we do is we actually heat it up and we eat it before. But now once we've heated up before and we've eaten it,
It
then
stays out.
it's there.
Right.
Oh, you can put it back on?
We leave it
No, you
on.
just leave it on. I mean, in the same way, like I said, if you have kids or people that have to eat
Yeah,
earlier,
that is so
you
interesting.
make your meal.
Someone had
it's
told
all
me
there,
that.
it's all
I feel like
warm,
that's such a
and
loophole.
when the
There's a
holidays-
loophole. It's even called, it's called a loophole. It's called
Listen,
harama.
But it's a,
It's a permissible one because again,
It makes
maybe
sense.
this is what you have to, why you have to know. It's like if you go to a lawyer, you have to know what's permissible, and not permissible. Things that are forbidden from the Torah, that's the Torah. You can't make a loophole. These things are issues that are generally rabbinic issues of preparing for something else. And therefore the justification is if you're doing it for right now or value too, preparing for something else is not the biggest problem. It's a minor issue that is taken care of by having a value for it right now.
and the value is that my kid eats at 5:30 and I'm not going to cook an entire dinner for her.
Well, I
I'm
know
cooking
that.
another dinner
I'm
for
saying,
people
like,
later.
No, I know.
So,
I'm saying
you
like
know.
when it's just adamant, like I did have a group of people I was doing Shavuos and my food wasn't warm because I didn't do that loophole. Because I only found out afterwards. I just feel like it's like weird to like put it on, okay, I have
It
a bowl
is,
food.
it is.
Huh?
And that's why the law is, you can't do it in a way that, the way it's obvious, right? Let's say, it's 10 minutes, you just finished eating, 6 o'clock at night, and your guests are coming at 8 o'clock. You're not allowed to go and say, okay, Adam, put something on 6:30, put something on the things you can taste some. That's obvious, you can't do that.
But you're saying if you wanted a nosh.
No, I'm saying if you're before your meal, it's 6 o'clock, okay? You're about to eat dinner, okay? Now you go and you take the one pot, not doing two separate acts, taking one pot, you put it on the fire to eat your dinner at 6 o'clock, and you're eating that, whatever's left over is left over. You can't do what you're saying. What you're saying is, after you had your meal, then you can't go and say, I think I'll eat some more. Because obviously you're doing it for later. But if when you're now making the meal that you're making, and it's not any extra work, and you're making it now, then there will be leftovers later.
I'm
That's
not
not a
saying
problem.
that, I'm saying the warming up thing.
But
I'm
could you
saying,
then
like,
honestly say, like, I'm hosting a meal, but it's going to be very late. I don't normally eat that late. I'd like to have my dinner at my normal time. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my dinner. I'm gonna have my dinner. And then people are gonna come over and I'm gonna give everyone dinner. Could you say that?
If you're actually eating your dinner, and you're actually heating up your dinner where it's not a separate act of making food for them.
Same.
It's all considered one act of making your dinner. It's not harder to take the pot and put it on the stove. It's actually easier than scooping out this and scooping out that. And you can take in one act of taking the pot, putting it on the fire, and you don't have to sit and make all the crepes. You're taking the thing, you're putting it on. It's one act that is the same for you as it is for everyone else.
You
Right?
just have pre-
yeah, freedom.
But that's your meal. You're eating that. You can't go and say you ate dinner, and now you're saying, oh, the people are coming in another hour. I think I'll have a second dinner. Because then it's obvious you're not doing it for them.
So really it only works when you have kids and old people.
Not necessarily. In Atlanta, you
Yeah,
eat
but
dinner at
that's-
9 o'clock at night.
It's so late.
I know.
Someone has to
So
eat
that's
early.
why. I mean, we you eat 3 meals. I mean, you don't wait till 9 o'clock at night to eat dinner.
No, but this
So
is during
what
Yom
we
Tov.
do on Shavuos day on Simchas Torah, we come back, we eat at 5 o'clock, we eat something. Well, that's normal. We
Okay.
eat some food.
But then you're eating again at 9.
Yeah. And 2 hours later, we're eating again.
But that's what you just said you couldn't do.
I
That's
can.
You can.
You're eating your.
Maybe you do it earlier
You
than
can't
that.
do it early.
Maybe you don't have dinner at 6
You
o'clock
can
and
do it if
second
you
dinner at
want
8
so
o'clock.
long.
If you had dinner at
Earlier.
5 o'clock and people come over at 8 o'clock, then it's logical you'd be hungry 3 hours later.
Yeah. You can't go and say now I ate at 5 o'clock. I'm eating again at 6 o'clock a meal. It's obvious it's a fake.
You're saying put some time in between.
I'm saying that you
Yes.
are allowed.
The intention has to be, you know, I'm now free now, and.
What you're doing is you're doing it for now. You can have leftovers.
Okay.
But you can't go and say, I'm doing something for now, and you obviously aren't, then everyone knows it's a fake.
Okay,
That
fine.
also means if you're serving 3 different pots of things to your guests later,
You can't put 3 on.
I mean, unless your intention is to eat all 3 now also.
That's right.
So
Correct.
you have to eat some of everything.
But that's a
for your
little
first
bit of a
meal.
problem. I mean, every year I think we have one. It's a little bit of a problem. I mean, that's why we open it up for everybody, because reality is that you can't go and say, putting 3 pots on, I'll taste a little bit of each. You don't need
No,
to.
you have to eat.
I'm saying, yeah, but it has to be that if you put 3 pots on, 3 different dishes, you're gonna be eating, not 3 of the same dishes, because why are you having this dish instead of that dish?
No,
Yeah,
yeah, I
3
was saying
different dishes,
separate,
right,
I
yeah.
was saying you have to eat the
That's a
separate
problem.
things.
We may be trying to come up with a different menu.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that.
Like, I keep thinking it's one thing, and then I see, and so then I say, okay,
Right,
everyone, let's
right,
eat the whole
right.
meal now, and everyone eats everything, and then
Real quick,
Wait,
just.
so you only have one dish?
no, what happens is,
We have several rices, so we have several things of rice. So
right,
even if we ate some of one of them, he's saying, then what about the other 2?
yeah.
You know,
So
you
that's,
have multiple
in
of
the
the same
end,
thing.
I always
enough.
thought it was like one dish of each that I can give. But then it ended up being 2 dishes of the same thing. So then I say, okay,
Yeah.
everyone eat, because then I just open up everyone, because otherwise it doesn't work.
Really quick, she was asking me, well, we were talking about what you have to do Wednesday before Yom Tov, so we can cook on Friday for Shabbos.
So that's called Erev
Put rice
Tafshilin.
over challah and
Just,
egg.
I've
yeah.
not ever heard of that.
All right, you want to get, is there a machzor here? Let me show you. It's in the machzor. I'll get one.
Throw it over here.
Right there,
Oh, goodness gracious. I should have brought my manual, my other manual for him. I didn't know that was gonna.
Okay, before everybody leaves, you have to come see me.
Wait, do you have sleeveless shells?
There, okay, so when it comes in, well, maybe I should talk
Did
this
you buy a
after.
bunch of theirs?
It's recording, I'll tell you in a second, I'll tell you after. So that way I feel not to cut out the shell conversation, he's recording.
Cause what?
Let me just try.
What?
There's like, it's a long time I didn't want to learn this stuff because I was like, you're just gonna tell me more things I can't do. But then I realized all the times that I did like really stupid hard things. Like before we moved here, we spent our Rosh Hashanah with Janine and she lived outside the area and I had these horrible shoes and I ended up cutting my feet. I'm limping and like crying because I can't carry my shoes back.
Really couldn't carry.
Yeah, I could have carried my shoes back. I'm like,
That,
That's why, yeah, when you learn stuff, you become more lenient.
right. And so, same thing, like I remember trying to like wash these relevant with different.
So I need a Rosh Hashanah box?
Trying to take all the-
I need a Rosh Hashanah, is it only in the Rosh Hashanah?
No,
Yeah.
I could-
Oh, I thought it was in the
I'm like,
regular.
Bayous also. It may also be, I don't know.
I don't know if we have a Rosh Hashanah.
Maybe the regular one too, probably is. It's a long
I'll
line.
probably find it online.
yeah, it's only people that are cooking that Friday night.
Everyone should make one.
That's the meal I'm doing, so
Everyone
that's.
should make one for what?
Because you're gonna want, you want to probably do things for Shabbos on
Yeah.
Friday. Now, if you forget, it's okay, because I'm making one for everybody.
Yeah, but what's something I'm gonna wanna do for Shabbos?
I don't know,
I know.
get ready for Shabbos.
Other than cooking, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, any preparations you're doing for the next day, you don't do the preparation one day to the other. You're gonna cook something, and heat up some water, you do something.
Jeepers, fine, I have a challah and an egg.
For next year, you'll be doing the Friday night.
Oh, I bet, I bet.
No, let's say you want,
For my whole family
let's say you
and the
want to
show.
heat up water, you want to add water into the urn.
To be honest, I'm probably not
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
do
we
any of
definitely
that.
do that.
I think I'm just too nervous with all these laws. I need like another class.
I was definitely gonna,
No, you
Yeah,
can,
definitely.
you can
but I'm
prepare,
gonna do
you
Friday
can,
night dinner, but I need the whole.
I know, but this class is great. I just need a little more.
All right, so here, look at page 16. Rosh Hashanah falls on Thursday and Friday, that's us. The Erev Tashluim is made on Wednesday. See commentary. The Erev foods are held with while the following blessings and declarations are declared. Okay? So you look at the bottom, I'll tell you what to make. I mean, a piece of matzah or a piece of bread and an egg.
I guess that you just do a whole like
Wait, what?
bread loaf.
It has to be something that you're gonna eat on Friday night?
You eat on Shabbos, yeah, because
Or
it's
Saturday
start-
morning.
it starts the cooking of what you're gonna eat on Shabbos. So you take your bread, whatever you're gonna have, it's the whole thing, and you have, you'll get a piece of the
Put it
the
off to
food.
the side. Like say the blessing on that Wednesday, and then put it off to the side. Don't eat it.
So a
Wednesday or
challah,
Thursday.
matzah, or loaf of bread, along with any other cooked foods, such as fish, meat, or egg, set aside the day before the festival to be eaten on Shabbos. Their foods are held in hand. Okay, so you're gonna take a an egg and a piece of bread, hold it in your hand.
You have to eat the whole thing, or just a
No,
little
just
bit?
eat some of it. Because you're starting the process. You're starting the cooking process on Wednesday for Shabbos. That's what you eat on Shabbos. So we're not saying cook on Friday for Shabbos. You already start cooking for Shabbos. The foods you're gonna eat. So their foods are held in the hand and a blessing is recited. Some persons saying, since the person saying the Arab must understand its purpose, the coming declaration begins what's said in language. You don't have to say it in Aramaic. You say it in English. Through this era of May, we be permitted to bake, cook, install, kindle, flame, prepare, and do anything necessary on the festival for the sake of Shabbos, so that all the Jews who live in the city. Okay. I mean, I say that part because the rabbi does it for the community also, in case someone forgets.
Is that in case someone forgets,
Yeah.
or because we really should do it?
They always do it themselves. Yeah. But in case someone forgets, so that's something we have the rabbi
Is it
does
bad
it.
to say it and not really prepare for anything?
What?
Is it bad if I do it on that you do it Wednesday night?
Just
Yeah.
do one thing before Shabbat, so this way it's said.
Like it's not done in vain?
But I'm saying, if we just take a random piece of bread and an egg,
Yeah.
and we do it, then we have to be sure that at some point on Shabbos, we eat
Some
that,
of it, yeah.
an egg and bread.
Yeah, that egg and bread, yeah.
I'll eat it.
Okay.
It's not poison, I don't think.
Does this happen after nightfall?
So a hard-boiled egg.
Before night, what do you mean?
Before
Yeah,
night?
Wednesday,
Yes,
yeah,
like-
before night.
Before nightfall.
Do hard-boiled eggs last?
Before you take in the holiday.
That's right.
Does a male have to do this,
Michelle.
woman have to do
Does
this?
the bread
No,
have
anyone
to
can
be
do it.
made, or can it just be?
Better not be.
Okay.